That night, the rain poured down in sheets. The sound of raindrops hitting the window panes and the roof created a noisy, lonely symphony. My name has been changed to Emily, was home alone in my rented house in suburban Willow Creek, Ohio. The time was fall 2016, the year when the creepy clown sightings suddenly erupted across the U.S., sowing a strange and rapidly spreading fear. I wasn't too worried about those news reports, thinking they were just pranks or internet exaggerations. Until that night, around 11 p.m., I was sitting in the living room, curled up on the sofa with a book, enjoying the cozy atmosphere contrasting with the storm outside. The lights in the house were bright, creating a sense of safety. Suddenly, a lightning bolt flashed, illuminating the scene outside brilliantly for a split second. And in that instant, through the large window facing the front of the house, I saw something. Right at the edge of the road, just a few meters from my fence, standing in the pouring rain, was a tall figure, unnaturally colorful in the dark night. My heart skipped a beat. I put my book down, squinting to see better, as my eyes adjusted to the darkness and the faint light from the nearby street lamp. I realized it was a clown. His costume was brightly colored but muddy and soaked with rain. Looking old and dirty, his face was painted stark white, with oversized round pink cheeks and a red smile stretched all the way to his ears. The wide mouth was open, looking like he was grinning sinisterly. He stood silently in the rain, water running in streaks down his smeared makeup. The initial shock quickly gave way to absolute terror. Why would a clown be standing there at midnight? In a storm? He was facing away from me at first. But then, slowly, very slowly, he turned his head. His eyes, hidden behind the paint and the brightly colored wig, weren't smiling. They stared straight at the window where I was sitting, cold and full of mockery. He knew I was watching. Then, with a slow, deliberate gesture, he raised one arm. In his hand, he held a knife. The knife looked old, the blade glinting with a faint light under the street lamp. It seemed to have serrations or marks on the surface. He slowly raised the knife to eye level, staring directly at me, then looked down at the knife in his hand, as if contemplating something, still with that fixed painted smile on his face. It was a clear threat, a horrifying challenge. I froze, terrified to the point of being unable to breathe. His gaze, that smile, and the knife in his hand, all created a terrifying image, unreal yet happening right before my eyes. I knew this wasn't a simple prank. This was something very, very wrong. I backed away from the window, my heart pounding like a drum. I trembling grabbed my phone, called 911, my voice shaking, barely able to utter the address. The police arrived a few minutes later. They checked the area around the house, searching under the trees, behind the bushes, but found no one. They said it might have been someone participating in the popular creepy clown trend. Or perhaps I had mistaken something in the darkness and rain. But I knew what I had seen. The image of the clown with the knife and that smile was seared into my mind, haunting me from that moment on. The incident that night planted a persistent fear in my heart. Even though the police found nothing and tried to reassure me, I knew I hadn't been mistaken. That look, that knife, were real. I began to be wary of every sound, every shadow outside my window. Then strange things began to happen. No longer confined to the outside of the house, they crept inside, turning my familiar home into a terrifying place. I started hearing bizarre sounds at night. A faint giggle, sounding like a child's, or sometimes a low, hoarse, malicious laugh. Light footsteps, accompanied by a very distinct squeak, like rubber soles on a hard floor. Sometimes, I even heard a soft thump, like round objects dropping, or the sound of a balloon deflating somewhere in the house. Strange smells also appeared. Sometimes it was the smell of stale popcorn, sweet and slightly burnt, like from an old circus. Sometimes it was the smell of cheap, strong, and unpleasant perfume. But most terrifying was another smell. Metallic, fishy, and nasty, like old blood or rust. This smell would often appear fleetingly, then disappear, leaving me feeling restless, uncomfortable, and afraid. I started seeing small objects, unrelated to me, appearing in the house. A bright red marble on the living room floor. A red foam clown nose mixed in with my towels. A short piece of string, brightly colored, tied in a strange knot, appeared on the kitchen counter. These things seemed to come out of nowhere, like grotesque gifts. Someone was deliberately leaving to torment me. My mental state became increasingly unstable. I slept poorly, having recurring nightmares about the clown, the knife, and that painted smile. I became paranoid, checking every corner of the house, afraid of the dark and empty rooms. The feeling of being watched was no longer just from the outside, but from within the house, as if someone was playing hide and seek with me in my own living space. I tried to tell my friends about what was happening, but they just worried about me, thinking I was too stressed or obsessed with the clown news. I felt isolated and desperate with a fear only I knew. The haunting became more direct and aggressive, focused on shattering my sense of safety. The clown was no longer just a shadow outside the window. I started seeing him in unexpected places, fleeting but terrifying moments. Once, while brushing my teeth in the bathroom, I looked up at the mirror and caught a glimpse of the clown standing right behind me. With the knife raised high, I spun around, screaming, but no one was there. Only my own reflection with a look of utter terror. In the nights that followed, when I was sitting in the dark living room, with only the light from my computer screen, I started seeing him, standing in the hallway leading into the room. A tall dark shadow with flickering patches of white and red color. He stood there, silent, motionless, just looking into the room. It felt like he was waiting for something. The sounds also became clearer and more terrifying. The giggle now sounded very close, sometimes as if echoing from the very room I was in, as if he was hiding somewhere in the darkness. The squeak squeak of footsteps on the wooden floor moved slowly around the house, sometimes stopping right outside my door, then continuing on. Once, I heard the sound of a sharp metal object being dragged across the floor downstairs. A chilling sound that sent shivers down my spine. What scared me most was that he seemed to be playing with the knife. I constantly saw the glint of the blade in the darkness, flashing in the corner of the room, or reflecting off surfaces. One time, I saw a fresh cut appear on the wooden kitchen counter, deep and sharp, like a cut from a knife. He seemed to be deliberately trying to break down my every sense of safety. Sitting inside the house was no longer protection. The window panes, the walls seemed no longer a barrier. That clown, or whatever entity took his form, was inside the house with me, and it was enjoying my fear, playing with it like a toy. My isolation in the large house only amplified the horror. I knew I couldn't keep living in this cycle of fear and paranoia. I needed to understand what was haunting me, why it was me, why it was that clown figure and that knife. I began digging into the history of this house, this street, and the town of Willow Creek. I searched online news archives, old community forums, asking longtime local residents, though it was difficult, and they often avoided my questions. I looked for murders, disappearances, strange incidents that had happened in this area, especially those involving bizarre figures or having chilling, unexplained details. And then, I found an old story. About 30 years ago, in the 1980s, the town of Willow Creek used to have a small fairground, with traveling circuses visiting annually. Around the same time, a series of mysterious disappearances occurred. Several children and even adults vanished without a trace, and these cases were never solved. What sent chills down my spine were the rumors accompanying these disappearances. Some said that before a person disappeared, they had caught a glimpse of a strange man, wearing a mask or makeup, often seen wandering late at night in the suburban area near the victims' homes. The rumors were vague, without concrete evidence, but that image, the man in makeup, as I researched these old disappearances, The clown's disturbances became more angry and violent than ever. It was as if I was touching a deadly secret he wanted to keep hidden. The giggle turned into growls, into screams. He was no longer just playing games. I saw fresh cuts appear on objects in the house, on the table, on the sofa, on the doors. Sharp, clean cuts, as if made by a knife. One night, I woke up with a start from a loud noise. I turned on the light and saw one of my kitchen knives. The largest one, impaled in the wall right above my bed. Still vibrating. It was a bloody warning. A direct threat. That clown wasn't just a mischievous ghost. He was the manifestation of something truly evil and capable of physical harm. Everything escalated to an uncontrollable level. The clown no longer hid in the shadows. He began to manifest more clearly, and seemed capable of unnaturally rapid movement. I saw him standing at the end of the hallway in broad daylight. Only for a few seconds. Then he would vanish. I saw him lurking outside the window in the evening. No longer hiding, just standing there staring in. That night, a night of torrential rain. Just like the first night I saw him. I was huddled in the dark living room. Doors locked tight, but feeling completely unsafe. The sound of rain, the wind, and inside the house, the familiar squeak squeak of footsteps echoing everywhere. Getting closer and closer. Suddenly, the lights in the house went out. Pitch darkness enveloped me. The clown's maniacal laughter rang out right next to my ear. Horrifyingly close and real. I screamed, backing away. In the darkness, I felt a cold breath on my face, accompanied by the smell of old popcorn and metal. I heard furniture being knocked over. The sound of glass shattering. It felt like he was hunting me in my own house. A deadly game where only one person would survive. I ran blindly in the dark. Stumbling, scrambling to get up, I felt a cold touch on my ankle, as if someone was trying to grab me. In a blinding flash of lightning, I saw him standing at the end of the hallway, the knife gleaming in his hand, the painted white face, the wide red smile, and the eyes, even though they were no longer glowing red dots. They stared at me with absolute madness and malice. I heard him move, swift and unexpected. That squeak squeak, now sounding like the footsteps of a demon. He wanted to catch me, to finish me off with that knife, like the victims of years past. Or worse, he wanted to turn me into a part of his horrifying circus. Somehow, in my utter panic and the darkness, I found my way to the back door, fumbling with the lock, and ran outside, plunging into the cold rain. I didn't dare look back. Just ran without stopping. The clown's maniacal laughter echoing in my head. The squeak squeak, footsteps seeming to follow right behind. I escaped that house that night, and I never dared to go back. I moved away from Willow Creek, trying to rebuild my life somewhere else, far away, but I couldn't escape that clown. He left an indelible mark on my mind. I developed a severe phobia of clowns. Just seeing a picture of a clown in an advertisement, in a movie, makes me feel nauseous and terrified. Stormy nights are a true nightmare. The sound of rain bringing back the memory of that horrifying night. And the feeling that someone is watching me through the window. That painted smile, that knife, the giggling laughter, the squeak squeak footsteps. It all still haunts me. Sometimes, I catch a fleeting glimpse of the clown's figure on a distant street corner. Or in a crowd. Sometimes, I smell old popcorn or metallic tang when there's no source around. I know, that clown wasn't just a dream or a hallucination. He is a malevolent entity. Perhaps the spirit of the killer from years ago. Or something even worse, attracted by fear and pain. He is bound to that place, to the crimes committed, but he can reach out, seek new victims, or simply revel in the fear he sows. The house in Willow Creek likely still stands there, silent, but containing a terrifying secret. That street, that area, is still haunted by a bloody past. And that clown, he is still out there, in the rainy nights, looking for other windows to peer into, seeking other victims to play with. with his painted smile and a knife in his hand. This story is true. It is what I experienced. Perhaps you think this is just delusion. But I know. I saw that red smile. If this story sent chills down your spine, and you want to hear more horrifying truths about unsolved mysteries, haunted places, and unbelievable supernatural phenomena, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for the latest videos. This world is full of terrifying secrets we don't even know exist.